Between 2005 and 2007, more than 30% of adults slept less than 6 hours a night. This announcement also came at a time when the doctors across the US were increasingly prescribing sleeping aids and sleeping pills to the people. Hello, my dear listeners. Welcome to this week's episode of my podcast, The Emotional People. I am your host, Mani. In this episode, I am going to tell you about a very vital aspect of our day-to-day life and how it directly relates to our emotional well-being, and that is to have a good sleep every day. Before that, let me ask you, have there been days when you had a disturbed sleep in the night, after which the following next day turned out to be in chaos or even sometimes a disaster? I am sure there must also have been nights where you got very little sleep, due to which you did not feel your best productive the following day and ultimately experienced negative emotions too. Have you ever thought why this happened? In recent years, research has witnessed an increasing interest in the bidirectional relationship between emotions and sleep. Sleep is important for restoring the daily functioning, whereas deprivation of sleep makes us more emotionally aroused and sensitive to stressful stimuli and events. Sleep is essential to our ability to cope with emotional stress in everyday life. However, when daily stress is insufficiently regulated, it may result in mental health problems and sleep disturbances too. Studies have shown that people who are sleep deprived report increases in negative moods like anger, frustration, irritability, sadness, and sleeplessness is often a symptom of mood disorders too, such as depression and anxiety. For a long time, doctors and scientists had ignored sleep's importance to the health and well-being, but we have only begun to see how much it matters in the last few decades. I am sure you must have heard, if not, let me reiterate that sleep is the only mechanism for our entire external body as well as for many of our internal organs to reset back. It gives the rest that the body needs after being active and functioning for several hours, along with promoting and release of various growth hormones. Knowing precisely how much we sleep matters because sleep plays a pivotal role in many aspects of our health, from staying mentally and emotionally fit to fending away infections in the body. Interestingly, in the 1980s, researchers began to probe how sleep affects health, and in 1989, one such experiment was conducted with a set of rats. They set off alarms to keep them from sleeping, and was amazed to see that the rats deprived of sleep started dying in as little as 2 or 3 weeks. So, it is recommended by doctors worldwide that on an average, every adult must have at least 6 to 8 hours of sleep for the body to restore back its vital functions, and the quality of sleep will determine the quality of one's life. When we sleep less than this, we will have difficulty with the memory and simply and very easy cognitive functions. Sleep loss and insomnia have been found to affect emotional reactivity and social function. Although the effects of sleep deprivation have been described at various levels of functioning such as cognitive, psychometric or sensitometric level, the emotional effects might be most obvious in the day-to-day life functioning. Studies clearly report that compared to the previous generations, we have been sleeping less and less every year. And that is indirectly more likely we suffer from chronic diseases such as hypertension, diabetes, depression and obesity, as well as from increased diseases like cancer, increased mortality and reduced quality of life and productivity. According to a survey conducted by the US Center, which is specifically looking at the disease control mechanisms between 2005 and 2007, more than 30% of adults slept less than 6 hours a night. This announcement also came at a time when the doctors across the US were increasingly prescribing sleeping aids and sleeping pills to the people. This astonishing fact in the number of adults on sleeping pills has tripled in the last decade alone. So you can imagine what would be the condition now. If we think what is triggering this lack of sleep among today's generation in detail, I would say the credit to most of that goes to the digital age that we live in. It has been found that many of this generation have anxiety, which is relative mostly to the fear of missing out, also called FOMO. This anxiety is common with majority of smartphone users who feel uncomfortable if they are not in direct contact with their phones and their other electronic connections 24/7/365. A dead battery and no charge can even bring a panic attack to many of those youngsters. A study among students who were more anxious about being apart from their phones used their phones more during a typical day and woke up to check their phones more often at night. That's the most interesting part. The two behaviors, that is more daily smartphone use and more nighttime awakenings, both led to sleep problems. Sleeping is being started to be considered as a leisure activity, and the modern fast-paced life creates an illusion even that we have less free time for rest. Though we seemingly sleep enough, scientists are finally starting to understand how crucial is sleep for good health and to have a good and balanced life. With the field of sleep research gathering pace, more and more of us are strapping to wearable devices as well that can monitor our sleep and understand our behavior patterns. And with that, we are bound to definitely learn more. While this happens, there is little reason to lose sleep worrying about not sleeping enough. Let me quickly touch upon a high level as to why does this anxiety about needing to stay in contact negatively impacts our sleep. First, those who are anxious about staying connected are more likely to use their technology right up until bedtime. We now know that the blue wavelength from the LED based devices, maybe phones or tablets or computers, increase the release of cortisol in the brain, which makes us more alert and inhibits the products of melatonin, which is needed to fall asleep. That's why the National Sleep Foundation recommends turning off all devices at least an hour prior to your bedtime. It also says that if you choose to use technology during the hour before bedtime, keep it 14 inches from your face and dim the brightness, which helps reduce the blue light and increase the natural melatonin release. A study by researchers at the Harvard Medical School found that comparing to reading a paper book, people who read from an e-book need an additional 10 minutes to fall asleep. They experienced 90 minutes of delayed melatonin onset and had half the amount of melatonin released. So, deprivation or disruption of sleep is both a common symptom of risk factor and a range of psychiatric disorders, including anxiety and mood disorders. Having understood this, the importance of having quality sleep now, I hope you all listening to my episode will ensure that you have a good night's sleep each and every day, and thereby staying emotionally fit and healthy as well. Thank you for listening. Do subscribe to this channel, and you can connect with me on the below given links. And until we hear back soon with more of information, more of that I can give you value on the importance of being emotionally fit, stay connected and have a good day. Bye bye.